Zachary Levi caught some heat for a take that, I would say anytime other than the past 3 years would be a pretty normal take. And a lot of people would agree with it on the left and on the right. He simply was calling out pharmaceutical companies. He was simply saying that maybe these people that are making millions and billions of dollars, not necessarily off curing people, but off treating them, maybe they're overall bad for society. That was enough to get him canceled, not actually canceled, but this cancel culture mob to go out there and attack Zach Levi, to call him racist, to call him transphobic, to call him a bigot, to call him a crazy right-wing Trump supporter, all because of this one little tweet right here. Hardcore agree. That's all it takes. Do you agree or not that Pfizer is a real danger to the world? Hardcore agree. That's all that it takes. And all of a sudden, everybody else is putting what they think his opinion is in his mouth. I don't actually think that he was talking about the jab here. I think he was just talking about the pharmaceutical companies as a whole. Even then went on to share, like a 10-year-old lawsuit where Pfizer had to pay out $2.3 billion for fraudulently marketing their stuff to people. Ripa knows this. 3 years ago, everybody on the left would have been all for Zach Levi calling out Big Pharma. But now, after a little jab came out, after all the COVID nonsense, now you can't say something like that. You have to blindly bend the knee to Big Pharma and worship them. Otherwise, you're a bigot. And the fact that you had all these people come out in droves to cancel a good dude like Zachary Levi is insane. Ironically enough, James Gunn did address this today. And James Gunn said, listen, I can't sit there and be beholden to changing my plans because an actor or director says something that I don't agree with or that I don't like. We're not going to do that kind of thing, which was interesting. But maybe it's because he's had some experience with that before.
Yeah, that is true. It's almost like these weirdos don't care about this stuff until it bites them in their ass, and now suddenly they have the wake up call. I'm glad he said it, but you have to think about the further context to it. Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Ryan about this when I saw the tweet, and I was like, we were both like, I don't think he's talking about the jab. There's just a bigger kind of narrative surrounding that he was more, but it's going to be turned into that.
To be clear, his dad also recently passed away after a long battle with his health and stuff like that. So I imagine he's probably got a reason why he's feeling some of that shit right now in terms of Big Pharma. Who knows? I'm not going to guess what he means. But the fact that so many people went straight to, well, he must be pushing some sort of jab conspiracy is so fucking ridiculous.
But that's how they think. That's how they're programmed. They're programmed to just be fake offended and lick the boot of the pharmaceutical companies immediately because, govern me harder, daddy, just like the meme.
I wonder if he watched Project Veritas over the last couple of weeks and saw that, and then saw the press release that Pfizer dropped on Friday, kind of addressing Project Veritas. They dropped it late on Friday, and they're like, we're not doing gain of function research, but we sometimes do modify viruses in order to try to enhance our vaccines. I was like, wait a second. So you don't function. Yeah, I was like, so you're using the definition and then saying that that's not what you do.
That literal game of fire is a shit. Fauci got in trouble for
absolutely
with the whole Chinese Wuhan lab, where they're trying to change the definition. Nonetheless, this whole story is hilarious to me because leftists, they don't really have positions, right? Their positions aren't really concrete. They're not actually principled, let's say that, because like Ryan said, I've said many times, before 3 years ago, before 2020, before this whole jab situation, if you went against, let's say, these big pharmaceutical companies like Pfizer, who had kind of led the charge against a lot of, as far as people being against them, they've made several settlements over the past decades to act like these guys are some sort of beacons of righteousness. That happened out of nowhere, right? And that was because they drew the ideological line where they thought the people that didn't want to get it were of this ilk, the people that did want to get it were of the other. So if you could punish your ideological enemies, which is all this is about right here, well, you can't be against their little sacred cow, which is now, ironically, even though it just changed, it used to not be that way. Now it's that way where Pfizer is the hero in the story. And to go against them, well, that you're pushing some but it's not even about Zachary Levi per se or the position. It's about, well, who is he as that first? If you went back to that tweet, if you see kind of the first comment, it's more of, well, look at who it is that you are kind of authorizing or co-signing just by saying this simple thing I agree. He didn't say shit. It was just I hardcore agree. That's it. And that was enough because they think that it validates the ideas of the people that they're against, right? And that's just what's so dangerous about leftism, certainly in general. This isn't about righteousness or what is just or any of that. This is about punishing and being against your ideological enemies. So even if your ideological enemies are right, they can't be co-signed by anybody because well, you know, you're the enemy. You're the enemy. So they drew the ideological line with the jab stuff. Zachary Levi, just by being against Pfizer, is now a right-wing Trump supporter, even though Trump was pro-jab as anybody else. You know, right-wing Trump supporter, and now he's the worst person. And why would you do this when your movie's about to come out? Like, what the fuck, dude?
And then people saying, you know, there would be a really easy way for Zachary Levi to clear this up if he simply tweeted out, "I encourage everybody to get vaccinated," but you know he won't.
Religion.
Like, it's crazy, dude.
It's
crazy.
wild, man. It really is.
I noticed one of the things too in a lot of the tweets, like quoting Zachary Levi too, there was this group of people that were going, "Oh, I've been waiting for this for a long time," and then started showing tweets from when he shared a meme from a while ago about Amber Heard like shitting in somebody's bed.
Oh shit, the Amber Heard one.
Yeah, go ahead.
There was one they were pulling up from 2018 where he was responding to somebody and saying, if you don't think that meaningful conversations about sexism can be led by men, or if meaningful conversations about racism can be led by white people, then you're really mistaken, or something like that. And people were sharing that around to be like, look, he's always been a bigot.
So some of these people, they just sit and like, they have no lives. So they just collect all these fucking tweets and they sit on them and they angrily masturbate to these tweets until they finally get a chance to use them and go, "Ha! Finally, I can cancel this asshole with something that he said 15 years ago." Like, none of it matters. They don't actually give a shit what he said. None of it's actually that offensive to them. They're just looking for reasons to be offended by somebody because at the end of the day, they don't want them to have work. They want them to be out in the streets and destitute because it makes them feel good about themselves.
It's such a bizarre thing, and I think that's why I discourage people to enter into these industries where basically everybody's holding guns to each other, waiting to cancel one another. It's a miserable. I don't think you can even be doing your best work when you're under those conditions where it's like anything that you say that might be slightly out of line, you're going to have this mob of leftist dipshits who are going to take it to the internet to try to get you ousted, put out on the streets essentially, and let's say ostracized, because to them, and this is why leftists are so hell bent on controlling Hollywood, because they understand how important that it is. And if you wonder, just look at motherfucker said, "I hardcore agree," and that's it. And that was enough. That was enough. It shows how dirty, how grimy that they are, that they cannot have anybody among their ranks that are out of line, right? They think that it belongs to them, and the folks that, you know, they will demand that you kind of co-sign whatever it is, that's the flavor of the week, flavor of the day. They make sure that you have to absolutely co-sign that, and if you even slightly deviate from that, they are coming for you. And I just don't think that, just as artists, I don't think that that's a proper way to live. It's not about Hollywood. It is, but it's not. It's more like the entertainment space. I would love for more people to enter into it and be able to be successful and be great without having to answer to these fucking weirdos, so they could be open to doing their best work instead of living under these conditions where if I say something, you know what I mean, I won't, you know, I might get canceled or something like that. That sounds like a shitty way to live.
There is probably a higher likelihood that Zachary Levi was actually like, well, you know, the way that some of these drugs, they get so expensive for people in marginalized communities that have already been affected by white supremacy and shit. Like, there's a bigger chance that that's what he's talking about. Be like, I can't believe that this single mother who has 5 kids from 5 different dudes who now has type 2 diabetes because she's fucking eating it fucking 7-Eleven, just a bag of Doritos and donuts every fucking day, can't afford her insulin because of Pfizer. Like, there's way more of a likelihood that that's what he's fucking talking about, in my opinion.